Water evaporates, becomes a liquid gas, which rises, and when it rises and it gets high enough, it will condense and it'll turn into clouds, which is called condensation. Here, the clouds condense, it will rain, which is precipitation. And then when the precipitation hits the ground and it's not in water and it hits something like a hill, you'll have something called the runoff, which is this, which it runs off and it'll go into like a river or a lake or something, just something that will get to a bigger body of water. And then it'll go down and it'll get this bigger thing, which is called the collection, like the big body of water, like an ocean or a sea, something like that, which will start the process again, where this water will evaporate, it'll make more clouds, it'll rain, it'll come back down, and it's just a big cycle. So it's just water that'll keep going over and over and over again. So that's the water cycle.
The stratus cloud. They're a thin blanket or sheet that cover much or all of the sky. They are much lower than a lot of other clouds.
This is a cirrus cloud. It's very high in the sky, it's thin, and it looks really wispy and feathery. And then down here we have a cumulus cloud, which usually has a flat base and it looks like a rising tower or some cauliflower.
During the day, the sun will rapidly increase our land, its temperature, at a more rapid rate. So when it does, the air that's hitting it will rise and expand, which will create a low pressure area. And since our sea cools or is heated slower, the air here will try to get to the warmer, more low pressure air, which will create our sea winds. And at nighttime, our process will reverse, where our land will cool more rapidly than our water will. So this will hit a lower temperature faster, and the air here will try to go to the hotter air at our sea, which will create our land breezes that we have.
Other breezes that we have are mountain/valley breezes, which happen in mountain and valleys. And these can happen two ways, and this is the first way. During the daytime, the sun will be out and heat will come down, and when it's heated it's less dense, and so it'll rise on the sides of the mountain, and when it's rising, that's how the breezes will happen, is the hot air rising. And it can usually be started by a cumulus cloud to get this heat started. Now the other way that these breezes can be made is during the nighttime, when the air starts cooling down, it becomes more condensed and starts going down, and it'll go down against these edges and like at a fast rate, which will make the winds. But at places like Mount Everest or the Grand Canyon, at high places like that, it can be really, really loud. So at night it'll just go down the slope, and that's how your breeze is made. There are three stages to the development of a thunderstorm. The first stage is the cumulus stage, which starts with a cumulus cloud. What happens is upward drifts of air will come up, and they'll keep coming up, and they're holding moisture, and it'll keep adding onto the cloud vertically, and then it'll keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and holding water. And once it can't hold water anymore, then it gets to the second stage, the mature stage. And what happens in the mature stage is there's lots of water that starts coming out. And after that, it starts losing water, and it starts losing more and more water, until it gets to the third stage, which is called the dissipating stage. What happens in the dissipating stage is there's still water coming out, but it's in a lower amount, and it's just the rest of the water coming out of the cloud. And when finally all the water's gone, they'll stop, and there will be no more thunderstorms. They're a violent windstorm that takes the form of a rotating column of air called a vortex. The vortex extends downward from a cumulonimbus cloud all the way down to the ground. Most tornadoes form in association with severe thunderstorms. An important process in the formation of many thunderstorms is the development of a mesocyclone. A mesocyclone is a vertical cylinder of rotating air that develops in an upward drift of a thunderstorm. Tornadoes can get up to be about 480 kilometers per hour, but the pressure within the tornado can be about 10% lower than the pressure immediately outside the tornado. With this low pressure, when it hits the ground, it can send all objects, dirt, earth, everything flying in different directions and can cause mass destruction. Hurricanes mostly form from 5 to 20 degrees north and south on the Earth. This area. A hurricane begins as a tropical disturbance that consists of disorganized clouds and thunderstorms. Occasionally, tropical disturbances become hurricanes. A rush of warm, moist surface air moves toward the core of the storm. The air then turns upwards and rises in a ring of cumulonimbus cloud.